Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. A night when heaven leans close to earth. A night when destinies shift quietly in the darkness. A night when God walks among men disguised in unexpected ways. But in the African town of Kisoro, Christmas Eve would become the night everything changed. For a boy, a mother, a pastor, and an entire community. Kisoro was the kind of place where children laughed louder than the birds in the morning, and where the scent of roasting maize mixed with the sound of distant church bells. The sun always dipped behind the hills like a shy visitor, and the night breeze carried stories older than anyone alive. But this year, something in the air felt different. People didn't say it out loud, but they felt it in their bones. Christmas Eve was going to be unusual. Kisoro awoke to the gentle breath of Christmas Eve. Roosters crowed in the distant hills, and the morning mist floated like soft blankets over the roofs. The marketplace was already alive, women arranging vegetables, boys running with excitement, and small shops playing Christmas songs on shaky loudspeakers. But for Caleb, this day felt heavier than any other day of the year. Caleb was a thin, bright-eyed 12-year-old boy with a smile that rarely faded. He was known in the village for helping elders carry water, escorting younger children home from school, and sweeping the church steps every Saturday morning without being asked. He was a child everyone loved, but a child whose pockets were always empty. As he walked through the bustling market with his mother, he watched other children brag proudly. "Look at my new Christmas shirt. See my new shoes. My uncle brought them from Kampala. My mother bought me sweets for tomorrow." Caleb looked at their shiny clothes, their new sandals, and their bags of biscuits. His heart tightened. He tried to hide it, but his mother, Auntie Ruth, a woman whose hands had known both struggle and prayer, saw it in his eyes. She called him gently. "Caleb." He stopped and forced a smile. "Yes, Mama? I know this year has been hard. I know you want something new, like all the other children." Caleb shook his head quickly, pretending to laugh. "No, Mama. Christmas is not clothes. People wear new clothes and still have bad hearts. I'm okay." But as he spoke, he lowered his head to look at his old sandals. Worn-out straps, dusty soles, and a small tear at the corner. Auntie Ruth swallowed painfully. Her business, selling tomatoes and onions, had been slow all year. Prices had dropped. Customers were fewer. School fees had drained her savings. She barely had enough to buy food for Christmas, let alone new clothes for her son. She gripped his shoulder, her voice soft but tight. "My son, I wish you knew how much I want to give you everything." Caleb turned and hugged her waist tightly. "I know, Mama. You give me love every day. That is enough." But even as he said that, a small ache pressed deeper inside his chest. A silent longing he tried to bury. They walked slowly through the market, past colorful gommases, Christmas hats, and children dancing to music. Caleb kept his smile fixed, but his heart whispered, "Lord, please help Mama smile this Christmas." The sky above Kisoro shimmered with early morning light, and somewhere in the unseen realms, a gentle shift happened, an answer already forming. But Caleb did not know. Auntie Ruth did not know. No one knew that this Christmas Eve, heaven had begun writing a miracle. Evening rolled gently into Kisoro, painting the sky with strokes of orange and purple. The market was closing, women folding tarpaulins, shopkeepers counting coins, and boda riders calling out for last passengers. Auntie Ruth and Caleb walked home quietly, their shadows stretching across the dusty path. The weight of the day hung on her shoulders like a sack of wet clothes. When they reached their small compound, Caleb ran to light the charcoal stove. He always helped, always tried to make life easier. Auntie Ruth watched him for a moment, her heart tightening with emotion. Her son deserved a childhood, not responsibility, not sacrifice. After making him warm porridge, mixed with a little sugar, one of the few sweet things they could afford, she waited until he finished eating. "Mama, I'm full," Caleb said, wiping his lips. She smiled, even though she had not eaten anything herself. "Good, go rest a bit. Tomorrow is Christmas Day practice at the church." Caleb nodded and ran inside the house. When the door closed, Auntie Ruth slowly stepped outside. The night breeze brushed her face. The stars blinked softly above the hills. From behind the house, she picked up a small stool and sat under the old avocado tree. This was her prayer corner, the place where she poured out everything she couldn't say in public. Her hands trembled slightly as she held them together. She began in a whisper, "Lord, you see my heart. I have nothing to give my child this Christmas, not even a shirt." Her voice cracked. "Father, I work hard. I try. I push every day. But life is getting harder." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "He acts strong, but I know Caleb is hurting. He hides it from me because he doesn't want to worry me." She wiped her eyes, shaking her head. "God, it would make my heart so happy, just to see him smile tomorrow." Even for a moment, she paused and breathed slowly. "I'm not asking for much. Just one small miracle for my boy. The night seemed too quiet, too still. Even the crickets stopped chirping. A gentle wind blew suddenly, brushing her cheek like a warm hand. She opened her eyes, startled. For a moment, she felt something. A presence. Comforting, silent, strong, as if heaven had leaned close to listen. Auntie Ruth looked into the sky and whispered one last sentence. Lord, if you can hear me, remember my son this Christmas Eve. Then she stood, wiped her tears carefully so Caleb wouldn't notice, and walked back inside. The moment she closed the door, something shifted at the edge of the compound. Footsteps. Soft. Slow. A shadow moved briefly under the moonlight, but disappeared before any eye could see. The miracle Ruth prayed for had already begun moving toward them. While Auntie Ruth slept lightly and Caleb dreamed softly inside the small mud-walled house, the town of Kisoro prepared for nightfall. Shops dimmed their lights. Children chased each other with laughter echoing between the hills. Women hurried home to finish Christmas Eve cooking. But not everything in Kisoro was ordinary that night. Along the narrow road that curved around the market, a stranger slowly entered the town. No one saw where he came from. No one remembered seeing him on the main road or the bus stage. He just appeared, quietly, calmly, as if he had always belonged. He was an old man wearing a faded brown coat, dusty leather shoes, a wooden walking stick, and a warm, gentle smile that felt older than time. But what caught people's attention wasn't his clothes. It was his presence. When he passed through the market gate, the restless chickens stopped squawking. The goats quieted. Even the loud music from a nearby shop reduced to a soft hum as if someone had turned the volume down gently. A fruit seller glanced his way and frowned. I've never seen him before, she whispered. A boda rider scratched his head. Must be a visitor for Christmas. But deep down they knew. No visitor carried an atmosphere like this. The stranger walked through the evening market slowly, as though he was searching for someone, or something. Finally, he stopped at a small wooden table near the corner. Auntie Ruth's vegetable stall. She still had a few tomatoes, onions, and green peppers left from the day. Her hands were tired. Her feet ached. Her heart was heavy with the prayer she had whispered an hour ago. The stranger looked at her tomatoes with unusual interest. You look troubled, daughter, he said gently. Auntie Ruth blinked in surprise. I'm all right, sir, she said, trying to smile. He nodded slowly, reading her deeper than she could hide. You work hard, but the year has been heavy. Her mouth parted slightly, but no words came out. He touched one tomato lightly with his finger. Just one. Then he smiled, a smile that felt like sunrise. Tomorrow, your joy will return. Before she could ask what he meant, the man lifted his walking stick and walked away, disappearing into the evening crowd. Auntie Ruth's breath shook. Who was he? She whispered. But no one knew. The stranger walked calmly through Kisoro as if following a map no one else could see. And somewhere, though no human ear could hear it, angels were whispering. The miracle has begun. Night deepened, wrapping the town in a blanket of stars. The air was cool and gentle, carrying the smell of pine trees and distant cooking fires. Children practiced Christmas carols outside the small church, their voices sweet and innocent. Silent night. Holy night. Their harmonies floated through the air like soft wings. Inside the compound, Caleb was sweeping the yard. He wanted their home to look neat for Christmas morning, even if they had no decorations. No new clothes and no special meal. Auntie Ruth watched him lovingly through the doorway. This boy, he carries responsibilities bigger than his age, she thought. After finishing his chores, Caleb sat on a small stool at the doorstep and stared at the moon. Mama, he said softly, do you think God remembers people like us? People with nothing? Auntie Ruth's heart squeezed. She sat beside him slowly. My son, God remembers those who trust him the most. Even when life looks empty, heaven is never silent. Caleb nodded quietly, even though he didn't completely understand. Auntie Ruth stood and went inside to warm water for bathing. Caleb remained outside, letting the quiet night soothe him. Then, a soft knock sounded at the gate. 3 gentle taps. Caleb froze. They weren't expecting anyone. No neighbor ever visited this late. And the knock wasn't loud or rushed. It was calm, almost polite. Maybe Mama forgot to latch the gate, he murmured. He stood up slowly, brushed dust from his shorts, and walked toward the gate. The moonlight lit the compound softly. Crickets chirped. A lonely frog croaked near the banana plantation. Caleb reached the gate. It was closed tightly. He pushed it open. Looked left, looked right. No one. Not a single footstep. But something was on the ground. A small brown box, neatly tied with string. Caleb's heart jumped. Mama, come quickly! Auntie Ruth rushed out, wiping her hands on her wrapper. What is it? What happened? Caleb pointed. What's that? Who left it? Auntie Ruth stepped closer carefully, almost afraid it would disappear. There was no name, no writing, no footprints, no sound of anyone walking away. "Open it," she whispered. Caleb bent down, lifted the box. It was light but full, and carefully untied the string. When he opened the lid, his breath caught in his throat. Inside were a brand new white shirt, a pair of polished black shoes, a toy car, bright blue, his favorite color, a small envelope with 5,000 shillings, and a handwritten note that simply read, "You are loved. You are remembered. Merry Christmas." Caleb's lips trembled. His eyes filled with tears he couldn't hold back. "Mama, this can't be real. Mama, who did this?" Auntie Ruth covered her mouth with both hands. Her knees weakened. Tears streamed freely down her cheeks. She whispered shakily, "No neighbor can do this. This is a message from heaven." Caleb hugged the box to his chest, crying softly. "Thank you, God. Thank you," he whispered. But neither of them noticed. Standing far beyond the banana trees, hidden in the shadows, the old stranger watched them with a soft smile. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the night as silently as he came. The church in Kisaro was buzzing with excitement. Choir members ran back and forth carrying candles. Children practiced their final Christmas Eve songs. Mothers arranged benches and ironed white dresses for the next day's service. Inside the sanctuary, Pastor Mugambi paced nervously. He wanted this Christmas Eve service to be unforgettable, not because of Christ, but because he wanted people to praise him, the pastor with the most beautiful service in the district. He kept repeating to himself, "The decorations must be perfect. The lights must shine. People must talk about this night." He didn't notice that his heart was slowly drifting away from the message of the manger. He climbed a small stool to hang a golden star above the pulpit. His hands were shaking with the rush of pressure. A choir boy whispered to another, "Pastor Mugambi is acting strange today." Another replied, "He wants everything perfect." But he forgot to pray. As Pastor Mugambi stretched up on the stool, trying to make the star hang straighter, suddenly, crack! The old wooden stool snapped beneath him. Everything happened at once. The pastor fell backwards, arms flailing. The golden star swung wildly. The candles he had arranged toppled over. A microphone rolled across the floor. A long string of decorations ripped loudly. He landed on the ground with a painful thud. The church went silent. The choir gasped. One usher dropped the hymn books. "Mahweh! Pastor fell!" Pastor Mugambi lay still for a moment. Staring at the ceiling, his pride shattered. "Why is everything going wrong today?" he thought painfully. He tried to stand, but the embarrassment burned hotter than the pain in his back. He sat on the dusty floor and covered his face with his palms. That was when a soft tapping sound echoed through the church. Tuk, tuk, tuk. Walking stick, slow steps, gentle rhythm. The old stranger, the same man who had visited Auntie Ruth's stall. He walked into the church quietly, each step steady and calm. The choir boys froze. The ushers whispered among themselves. The air changed, as if the whole church was inhaling deeply at once. The stranger stopped in front of Pastor Mugambi, who was still sitting on the floor. He looked at him with eyes that seemed to see deeper than flesh, into motives, into the hidden fears, into pride and weakness. "Pastor," he said softly. Mugambi swallowed hard and lowered his gaze. Yes, sir?" The stranger bent slightly and picked up the fallen golden star. "It is possible to prepare the church beautifully," he said gently, "and still forget to prepare your heart." Pastor Mugambi felt a sharp sting, not of insult, but truth. The stranger continued, "Christmas is not your decoration. Christmas is not your performance. Christmas is Christ." The whole church grew silent. Even the candles seemed to burn more softly. The pastor's lips trembled. I have lost the focus," he whispered. "I wanted to impress people, not God." A single tear slid down his cheek. The stranger placed the golden star in his hands and touched his shoulder. "Remember why he came. Remember who this night belongs to." The words felt heavy, holy, like they carried the weight of heaven itself. Suddenly the stranger turned, walked down the aisle, and stepped out of the church. Pastor Mugambi scrambled to his feet and rushed outside, but the stranger had vanished. He wasn't on the church path. He wasn't near the mango tree. He wasn't at the gate. It was as if the wind had swallowed him. Pastor Mugambi stood alone in the night air, trembling. He whispered, "Lord, have mercy on me. Teach me again what Christmas means." He looked back at the torn decorations, and for the first time that day, instead of pride, he felt humility. A miracle had visited the church, and Christmas Eve was not done yet. Families lit lanterns outside their homes. Distant drums from neighboring churches echoed through the hills. The smell of roasting maize mixed with the sweet scent of pine trees. At the small church, the children gathered in a circle for their final rehearsal. They wore simple clothes, some torn, some faded, but their voices rose like pure gold in the quiet night. Silent night. Holy night. Caleb stood among them, wearing his old shirt, still overwhelmed by the mysterious gift he had received. Every time he blinked, he saw the toy car, the new shoes, the encouraging note. Nadia, his best friend, stood beside him. She noticed his brighter eyes. "Caleb," she whispered, "are you happy now?" He nodded slowly, tears threatening again. "Yes, God remembered me. Through someone." Nadia smiled softly. Sometimes heaven chooses people to deliver miracles. The choir mistress clapped her hands. "Children!" Louder now. "This is the last practice." They lifted their voices again. Stronger, sweeter, more innocent. But as they sang, the wind suddenly shifted. The lantern flames flickered. The leaves of the big jacaranda tree rustled though there was no breeze. One child whispered, "Why did it suddenly get quiet?" Another replied, "The air feels different." Then something happened that none of them would ever forget. The sky above the church shimmered. Not lightning, not fire. Something softer. Something holy. A streak of gentle white light moved slowly across the sky. Exactly as the children sang, "Christ the Savior is born." The light hovered above the church roof, small enough to be missed by busy adults, but bright enough for children with innocent hearts to notice. Caleb gasped, "Nadia, look!" The children froze, staring upward. The light didn't frighten them. It warmed them, hushed them, wrapped around them like an embrace. It was as if heaven whispered, "I am here." The choir mistress, who had her back turned, noticed their silence. "What is it? Why did you all stop singing?" But the moment she turned, the light dissolved softly, fading back into the stars. The children stood in awe. Nadia held Caleb's hand tightly. "Caleb, that was not normal." Caleb nodded, heart pounding. "I think something is happening tonight." The choir mistress, unaware of what they had seen, sighed and clapped. "Children! Don't get distracted! Let's continue." The practice resumed, but the children's eyes kept drifting upward in wonder. Far away near the edge of the church compound, a shadow moved. The old stranger. He stood with his walking stick planted firmly in the soil, watching the children. A soft glow reflected gently in his eyes. He nodded once, as though confirming a heavenly assignment, then turned and walked slowly toward the road leading to the hill. And though no child could hear it, a whisper floated in the wind like a faint melody. "Prepare your hearts, for Christmas Eve has only begun." Midnight approached slowly like a quiet drumbeat. Families dressed in their best clothes, some in new outfits, some in old but freshly washed shirts. Lanterns lit the village paths as people walked toward the church, humming Christmas hymns. Inside the church, candles glowed softly. Children filled the front rows. Mothers fanned themselves. Elders whispered blessings. The air felt expectant, as if heaven sat among them. Caleb wore his new shirt and shoes, the ones from the mysterious box. When he entered, the entire church smiled at him. "You look smart, Caleb." "Ha! Our boy is shining tonight." He shyly bowed his head, but inside his heart danced. Auntie Ruth held his hand tightly, whispering, "God remembered us, son." Nadia sat beside Caleb, her eyes sparkling. She whispered, "I prayed for your joy, and heaven answered faster than I expected." Caleb smiled deeply. As the church settled, the choir sang, "Oh, come let us adore him." Voices blended like soft rivers. Then the side door creaked open. Everyone turned. The old stranger entered the church. He walked slowly, gently, humbly. But the moment he stepped inside, the air shifted. Candles flickered but did not go out. A soft hush fell over the church. Babies stopped crying. Even the drums in the back corner seemed to pause. He quietly sat in the last row. No one knew him, but everyone felt him. Something holy entered with him. Pastor Mugambi noticed and swallowed hard. His fall earlier, his pride, the warning he had received. It all returned to his mind. He bowed his head in shame. The midnight service continued. Children read Bible verses. Women sang hosannas. Men clapped in deep, booming harmony. Then Pastor Mugambi stepped forward to preach. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Instead, tears rolled down his cheeks. The congregation gasped. "Mahweh, Pastor is crying." Pastor Mugambi lifted one trembling hand. "My brothers and sisters," his voice broke. "Tonight, God corrected me." The church grew silent. "I wanted this service to make me look great, but I forgot it's supposed to make Christ known." He pointed gently toward the stranger at the back. "That man came to me earlier today. He spoke words that shook my spirit." Everyone turned to look at the stranger, but something happened that froze them all. The stranger's face glowed softly, not bright like fire, not frightening. Just a gentle, holy light that wrapped around him like a whisper from heaven. Children gasped loudly. "Mama, his face is shining!" The stranger slowly stood up. His walking stick made a gentle talk on the floor as he walked forward. Every step he took felt like time slowed down. When he reached the front, he turned to the congregation. His voice was calm, deep, peaceful. Love one another, as Christ has loved you. People felt the words entering their souls like light filling dark rooms. Then he looked at Caleb and Auntie Ruth. Your prayers were heard. Auntie Ruth covered her mouth with both hands, shaking. Caleb felt tears burning his eyes. Before anyone could ask him more, the stranger stepped back, turned toward the exit, and left. Pastor Mugambi hurried outside with half the church following behind. But the road was empty. No footprints, no shadow, nothing. Only the cold Christmas Eve wind moving gently through the night. Women cried. Elders fell to their knees. Men held their heads in awe. Someone whispered, "An angel walked among us tonight." Someone else whispered, "God visited Kisaro." The next morning, Christmas Day, Kisaro woke up transformed. Neighbors who had quarreled forgave each other. Children shared food and toys. Women cooked big pots of rice and chicken to feed the poor. Families reconciled. Laughter filled homes once filled with silent pain. Pastor Mugambi personally visited every widow's home with food and prayer. Caleb walked proudly with Nadia, wearing his new shirt, his heart overflowing with joy. Auntie Ruth spent the morning giving vegetables for free to families who had none. Everywhere people said, "This is the best Christmas Kisaro has ever seen." But the most beautiful moment came at the evening service when the entire church knelt together and prayed. Thank you, Lord, for sending your messenger on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve in Kisaro became a legend, a story told around fires in schools and in church sermons for years. Parents told their children, be kind, help others, give without expecting, treat people with love, because you never know when God might walk into your town again. Caleb grew up remembering the mysterious gift. Auntie Ruth never forgot the prayer that heaven answered, and Pastor Mugambi preached every Christmas with humility, saying, I learned the meaning of Christmas on the night an angel sat in the last row of our church, and so the people of Kisaro understood. Christmas is love, Christmas is giving, Christmas is forgiveness, Christmas is Christ, not clothes, not decorations, not loud celebrations, but hearts open to God and to one another. And every Christmas Eve, people looked toward the road, just in case the stranger returned. Merry Christmas, my lovely viewers. Like, share, subscribe for more tales.